Financial support for the production of Issues in Education is provided by
the Florida State University License Plate. Your FSU license plate supports scholarships for students who enrich and contribute to our communities. Special programs, gift certificates, and rebates for first-time buyers online at fsu.edu/mytag.
Coming up today on Issues in Education, Atlantic Coast Conference Commissioner John Swofford talks about conference realignment, the connection between athletics and academics, and the future of the ACC. Welcome to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith, alongside my co-host, Florida State University President, Dr. Eric Barron. When you talk about athletics at the collegiate level, at least part of the discussion usually includes athletic conferences. There's the rules, the standings, the schedules, and the championships. But an athletic conference can affect more than just a university's athletic department. FSU has been part of the Atlantic Coast Conference for over 20 years. Joining us today is ACC Commissioner John Swofford. Thank you very much for being here today.
Good to be here.
So let's just talk generally. Why conferences? What are the benefits?
Well, I think the benefits start with pulling together institutions that have a like approach philosophically to intercollegiate athletics, in our case at the highest level. It's good also if there's a geographic link, good that there's an academic link, and good that there's a philosophical link, and then it gives us the opportunity as a conference to do a lot of things together, developing championships, creating compliance reviews, a lot of sharing of best practices from one institution to another, and probably the most obvious to fans is the development collectively of television rights.
Well, how do you see Florida State's role in the conference?
As a leader, I think that Florida State, since it came into the league, and I was an athletic director in the league at the time that Florida State joined, Florida State's been a tremendous addition to the Atlantic Coast Conference in every respect. And now with the addition later of the University of Miami, the ACC has quite a presence in the state of Florida, and certainly that's been important. But the most important part of it is Florida State as an institution, how it fits with the ACC, both athletically and academically.
So give us a sense, and I know there's several, what are the big challenges for conferences these days?
Well, I think in recent years, one of the biggest challenges has been the stability of conferences. We've seen a lot of movement throughout the country and at every level. It's not just at the highest, most competitive level. It goes down in a certain domino kind of way with the movement. There's always been a certain amount of that over the history of intercollegiate athletics, but in the last decade or so, there's been an unusual amount of that, and I think schools need stability in terms of where their conference home is, and they need to know that conference is going to provide them a home with the kind of institutions that they want to be associated with, both on the fields and playing courts and academically, and I think that's one of the great things about the Atlantic Coast Conference.
It seems that in the last 2 years there's probably been a lot more domino, one change affects another change. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on in the last 2 years to the conferences.
Well, you've had some continued movement, some dramatic and some fairly minimal with various conferences. If you look across the country, there are now 5 major conferences. All of us have expanded to some degree, some more than others. Probably the toughest thing to watch has been sort of the disintegration, if you will, of what we knew as the Big East Conference in recent years. There still will be a Big East Conference by name, but it'll be very different from the Big East Conference that we've known in recent years. But we have grown and will be continuing to grow. July the 1st this year with Pitt and Notre Dame joining us along with Syracuse. And then 1 year later, Louisville will be joining us. So our footprint is being enhanced considerably, and I think for good reason and in a very positive way. They're quality institutions that have high-level athletic programs that will position the Atlantic Coast Conference for a terrific future.
So what motivates a university to change conferences?
Well, I think it's first of all looking for stability, and along with that stability, trying to maximize their revenue potential. And if they feel like they're in a place that doesn't give them that stability and doesn't give them that sense of financial security in terms of where a particular conference is going for the future, there's a tendency to look elsewhere.
So if I heard that right, would you say that all of that blogosphere discussion in which it said, someone very close to the top is negotiating with so-and-so, did that actually, in your mind, contribute? Because a lot of it was just completely made up. Do you think that actually contributed a lot to the instability?
Well, I think it can. I think people in the blogosphere with this particular subject find it a sexy subject, and you have an awfully lot of people putting misinformation in the blogosphere. We try to rely on the individuals that truly make those kinds of decisions
yeah.
because there's so much misinformation out there about this subject.
Well, how do we promote stability in the ACC or in any conference?
Well, I think that our conference is 60 years old, and in that 60 years there have only been 2 departures during that period of time. And I think the way you develop stability is to, first of all, have schools that belong together for market reasons or geographic reasons and academic reasons. I think that's very important. Have schools that belong together in terms of their philosophical approach to intercollegiate athletics. And then to maximize your television revenues to the best of your capability with that particular grouping of schools, and to provide the kind of experiences that student athletes should have and that our institutions want their student athletes to have in terms of conference championships and their ability through our conference to move on to NCAA championships as well.
So if you had your own crystal ball and you were making a prediction, do you think we'll ever have super conferences? Do you think things are settling down or not?
Well, I think things are settling down, and some of that is that I hope things are settling down, because I think intercollegiate athletics needs for it too. I think that we've had so much of this over the last decade. I think intercollegiate athletics as an industry, if you call that an industry, would be well served at this point in time to settle back with where we are and let the landscape settle down and solidify itself, because I'm not sure we'd say we have 5 super conferences exactly at this point in time, but I think we have 5 power conferences, if you will, that are most alike.
Do you, when is the ACC proactive in seeking schools to join them, or is it, or when all the shuffling was going around, were colleges approaching the ACC?
Well, in the most recent years, the latter. The last schools that have come in or will be coming in Pitt and Syracuse, put out feelers to us that they would be very interested in joining the Atlantic Coast Conference. At the same time, they let the conference they were in, the Big East, know that they were putting out those feelers. The same with Notre Dame. With Louisville, they had put out the same feelers, and then when Maryland decided to make a move, our presidents had several lengthy discussions about replacing Maryland, and ultimately made a very good decision, I think, in inviting Louisville to join the Atlantic Coast Conference.
So when you were talking about the motivation of different schools, you also mentioned TV contracts and the economics. How has Pittsburgh and Syracuse and Notre Dame and Louisville, how does that impact the economics in the ACC?
It's had a very positive impact in the sense that the average per school, per year television dollars coming to the ACC schools with the addition of Pitt and Syracuse and Notre Dame and ultimately Louisville, is $5 million per year per school, which is a significant amount of dollars. And then that comes from, I think, the quality of the institutions and their programs. It also comes from the marketplace in the sense that the ACC now runs the entirety of the Eastern Seaboard. And there are an awfully lot of people in our footprint, more than any other conference in the country. And that positions us extremely well in terms of television and a number of other things going forward.
And it's not just today, it's projected to be the growth area as well in the future.
It is. If you look at projections going forward, the Eastern Seaboard and the South are projected to have 55% of the nation's population 15 years from now.
A lot of televisions.
And we have a lot of televisions, and we have a lot of people in our footprint, and so the future looks tremendously bright for the ACC going forward in that respect.
Does that mean there's going to be some renegotiation of television contracts, and how will that impact the different schools within the ACC?
Well, it seems like in recent years the renegotiation of our television contracts never stops, but for good reason, because it's because of the additional schools and the upside that goes along with it. And now we think that $5 million per school per year, additional monies on top of what was already there, will probably increase some more. We are currently in negotiations with ESPN, our partner. We're talking very seriously with them about starting an ACC channel that we think could be, over the long haul, very productive financially and therefore very helpful to our institutions.
Well, and perhaps it would be good to give kind of a breakdown of where are the resources coming into the SEC. What do they come from?
Well, they come from, to the conference, from television. They come from the NCAA basketball tournament, and then they come from our own championships that our ACC basketball tournament, our ACC football championship game. Those are the three primary sources of revenue, and then on top of that, there's postseason football, meaning the bowls, and particularly the BCS games, because the five major conferences will be pretty much sharing the same number of dollars going forward with the next iteration of the BCS, which we have one more year of the BCS as it currently exists, and then a new 12-year cycle will start. And we collectively, the 10 conferences in Division I have negotiated a very lucrative amount of television dollars to go with those games, and started a 4-team playoff, which I think will be very exciting for fans and players and coaches alike. And the revenue from that new negotiation for postseason football will basically triple compared to what it is today.
How is the value of an athletic property decided? I mean, is it about the wins? Is it about the championship? Is it about the viewers? How is that
Well,
determined?
I think all of that, Suzanne, really. I don't think there's one single piece, but certainly the quality and potential of your programs athletically that are in the conference, as well as the footprint and the potential television viewers that you have in your footprint. And then when you add a program like Notre Dame, that's a national brand, and so that brings added value to the Atlantic Coast Conference as well.
And if you take a look at the Power Five, where do we sit?
We sit extraordinarily well with the addition of the new schools, and from a purely rights fee standpoint, we're right there at the top with any other conference and beyond most when we're talking about the five. The additional revenue stream that comes in today's world, the Big Ten, for instance, while they're behind us in terms of rights fees from a national rights holder, they do very well with their own channel, and they didn't do very well early. Now it has taken hold, and they've done well financially with that. The Pac-12 just started a channel that is not terribly productive financially yet, but maybe it will be in the future. The SEC will soon announce a channel, and we are having very serious discussions about such a channel as well, because that's an upside potential that you don't necessarily have with a straight rights fee deal. And probably the best of all worlds is to have both, because there's some risk in a channel and it takes some time to build it, but the upside potential is big.
The ACC is very big on academics as well. How does the ACC stack up academically against the others in the other conferences?
Well, in the major conferences, it stacks up number one, and this league has always been very, very proud of that. If you take the U.S. News and World Report rankings, the ACC collectively of the schools in the league, the ACC is number one in that ranking. And I think if you look back over the years, one of the real key factors about the Atlantic Coast Conference is that that balance of academics and athletics. That's very important to this league and its culture.
What does the ACC do to support educational experiences for the students? Is there something specific that you're doing?
Well, there are a number of things. We really promote our ACC scholar athletes and academic recipients. That's something that we think those student athletes who perform so well in the classroom deserve that kind of recognition. We have a postgraduate program where each year each institution in the league nominates 3 of their top student athletes that receive from the Atlantic Coast Conference postgraduate scholarships to go on and do work at the graduate level. And so we identify the scholar athlete of the game in each of our television games. So all those things are important to accentuate that balance that has been so important to the culture of this league of athletics and academics.
It's just one last question. Where do you see things going? If you had complete control, what would happen next?
Well, if I had complete control, I would create a period of time where everybody stays in the conference that they're in, and intercollegiate athletics has a chance to take a deep breath and maximize the potential of each and every conference where they are at this given point in time.
Thank you very much. We've been talking with ACC Commissioner John Swofford. When we come back, Dr. Barron and I will talk one-on-one about more issues in education. Welcome back to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith, talking with Dr. Eric Barron, President of Florida State University. Dr. Barron, we've been talking with John Swofford with the ACC, and we've talked a little bit about the rumors about who's leaving the conference, and FSU included was in those rumors that were going around. And you've answered the question before. Let's answer it one more time. You've said it before, but is FSU staying in the ACC? Absolutely.
We're completely and totally committed to the ACC. We have great partnerships. In every sport, we look forward to competing and moving forward for an ACC championship. And when you move forward for an ACC championship, you move forward for a potential national championship. It's easy to have people create the rumors if you have a history like Florida State has had. And a lot of people, when I say that straight out, they say, but. There was always a but on the end of that. There's no but.
Well, how does being a member of the ACC benefit Florida State University?
Well, I think in a lot of different ways. It allows us to to create some rivalries that our fans really look forward to. It allows us to compete, as I said, in a way that you're competing with really great schools. Academically, it is very strong, and our faculty are very proud of the fact that they're with a set of schools who are committed to students, student athletes and students. So it's a great fit.
That's a good point. A lot of people who are not interested in the athletic part, they're interested only in the academics and the research of a university. Why should they care about the university's athletic conference?
Why
should they care?
Okay, well, in a lot of ways, it's interesting how these things all fit together. Because athletics is many times a front porch for a university, a front porch for alumni. I would bet that many of the alumni who come back to this university come back because they were a soccer fan, or baseball is something that they're passionate about, and of course football and basketball in the same way. So, we need those front porches, and around them you develop a certain sense of spirit and enthusiasm about a school. And this is a very competitive university, athletically and academically, and that's the image we want to project.
In April, it was announced that the Alumni Village, housing community for graduate, married, family, and non-traditional students will be closing in 2014. Why was that decision made?
Well, I would say the university is between a rock and a hard place when you come right down to it. Alumni Village is going down in quality. Its location is not optimum if you were going to be coming on the main campus, so that's problematic. To do the types of renovation that would bring it up to a standard that we think would work would make the price, I think, non-competitive for the people that are living there. And so, and even after you made that investment, you're still not in an ideal location. And so I think the time has come for alternatives.
What's going to happen to that piece of land after it closes in 2014?
It doesn't have a designation yet, but remember, around the Southwest campus we have a lot of land, and so there's a lot of opportunity for expansion. Certainly we hope our engineering school grows. The number of laboratories there between the Mag Lab and the materials focus and our aero propulsion focus, those are areas that will continue to grow because they're such centers of excellence. And so it's natural to be using that space.
FSU Day at the Capitol was at the beginning of April. How did that go?
Okay, well, I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, first of all, every floor of the Capitol is full of FSU exhibits, and almost all of them are staffed by students. And they're smiling and they're happy and they're proud about what they're doing, and it gets a lot of people excited. But I think there's really another a benefit, and that's because it sort of adds this festive atmosphere between the hot dogs and the circus performers and the amount of garnet and gold that you see on the outside of the Capitol. But the very best part is we get to introduce and thank those legislators who are our alumni or our close friends. And they are just a fantastic group, and they're always there for us. They're always arguing for us. They're making our case. They're very proud. There's something special about going into a legislator's office and seeing that there's Florida State everywhere in their offices. So it's fun.
The day this episode airs will be actually, the day it airs for the first time will actually be the last scheduled day of the legislative session. The next stop for many of the bills will be the governor's desk. What do you want the governor and the rest of Florida to remember about FSU and higher education in Florida? Okay,
so there are a couple of things. One is that we were listed as the top university in this country among all high-quality publics, the most efficient in delivering quality. What that tells you is that every single dollar that the legislature and the governor gives us, we will put to good use. And we've proven that over and over again. And despite a lot of the budget difficulties, the rankings of this university have been steadily going up over the last 3 years. We are now at the highest rank that we've had in 15 years, while being at the lowest rank in financial resources in that same time in 15 years. And so what this tells you is this is a university committed to academic quality, and you give us $1, we're going to do a good thing with it.
April also brought the end of another spring semester, and we'll be sending many new FSU graduates out into the world. What advice do you have to them as they embark on the new journey of their lives?
Well, you know, of course, what we are most interested in is their career success. And a lot of people don't realize the extent to which our university is now literally investing more and more so that they can be well placed in jobs. Our alumni group has now got a career officer to help make connections with alumni for jobs. We're expanding our career offices out of student affairs for students to go and begin to see postings and do interviews. And we're doing much more tracking through the provost's office with another new hire than we have ever done before. So in my mind, the rankings are great. We really want those students to be highly successful, and we're going to invest the dollars to make sure that they are. And that may not impact your rankings, but we'll know we're doing a good job.
Now the graduation's taken place, what are your plans for the summer? I mean, you don't get that much time off, do you?
No, you know, it's in some ways it's quite fascinating because the legislative session is going on at the same time as the semester. It's a little bit harder to travel, and of course we're in the midst of a campaign to raise over $1 billion for this university. It's going well, but you turn right around and say, okay, classes are over and the legislative session is done. I guess I better go travel and talk to as many alumni as I can and hope that they give back. And I don't know whether you know, we are now the tops in Florida in the percentage of our alumni giving back. Not the highest dollar amount, but the highest percentage of our alumni giving back. Huge statement from our alumni. So my job is now to get the dollar number up higher too.
Well, good luck with that.
Thanks.
Thank you, President Barron. That's our time for now. Please join us again next month for more Issues in Education. You can watch the premiere episode of Issues in Education the first Friday of every month at 7:30 p.m. That means you can see the next new episode on Friday, June 7th on WFSU-TV. We hope you'll join us as we discuss the latest developments in higher education happening around the state and across the country. If you have questions that you would like us to address on this program, you can email us at issues@wfsu.org. Again, that's issues@wfsu.org. If you would like to see past episodes from Issues in Education, head to the President's website at president.fsu.edu. I'm Suzanne Smith with Florida State University President Dr. Eric Barron for Issues in Education. We'll see you next time.
Financial support for the production of Issues in Education is provided by
The Florida State University License Plate. Your FSU license plate supports scholarships for students who enrich and contribute to our communities. Special programs, gift certificates, and rebates for first-time buyers online at fsu.edu/mytag.